Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today I'm going to do a little project that is actually for me. I need this. It just hit me the other day. I was trimming my beard and I have all these little clip heads and different attachments. I've got two actual clippers, two chargers, and it's like this stuff is all over the place. Can't hardly find it when I need it. So I was like, okay, I need to organize this stuff. So I thought, why not make a leather pouch to put all that stuff in? It'll be in one place, easy to find. Pop it open, reach down in there and grab what I need. That way I don't have to have it all over the place in my bathroom. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay all this stuff out here, and I'm going to see, as you can see, it is a mess. Chasing all this stuff to get rid of that plastic thing, chasing all this stuff down is crazy. I don't think I need the instructions anymore. So I've got two trimmers. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 guards, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heads, and 2 cleaning brushes, and a small container of lubrication. So, and then I've got 2 chargers. So what I need to do is get all this stuff straightened up. And what I've chose today is a piece of leather pigskin because I didn't want anything too thick. I want it to be somewhat pliable because I want to make a pouch or a drawstring bag out of this to hold all this stuff. So there's everything that I've got to put in there. So what I want to do is just kind of gather this stuff up and get an idea how big I need this bag to be. So let's take a look at this. Let's say 8 inches. If we made it 8 inches, it should be plenty big enough to hold all this. So 8 inches wide by, let's make it, so we have enough room up here for our drawstring. Let's make it 11, let's make it 12. We'll make it 12 inches tall. So 12 inches tall by 8 inches wide is how big we're going to make this drawstring bag. So I'm going to take all this stuff and I'm going to get it out of the way so we can go ahead and move on to our leather. And there's a piece of lace I'm going to use as my drawstring. It's about 1/8 by 1/8, and it is, give you an idea, it's probably about 24 inches long, and I may have to cut that off, but that's okay. Get my pig skin up here. If I'm going to do an 8 by 12 piece, then I'm going to need a 16-inch piece out here. So I'm going to fold it over and then stitch it down the side and at the bottom. And then I'll put a hem at the top for my drawstring. So I'll need a piece 12 by 16, and it just so happens that my grid on my cutting mat, I just noticed, is 12 by 16. So let's go ahead and smooth this out here. And I think what I'll do is I'm just going to take a pin, and I'm just going to go around the outside of this cutting mat. It's got a little border on it, but it'll just make it a hair bigger. And again, it's not that critical on the size, so let's go ahead and smooth this out. And then this will be my inside, so I'm not too concerned about the ink pen showing up. So let's just go right down, and what I'm doing is I'm following that edge of that lip on that self-healing cutting mat. I'm going to go ahead and just, it's got a rounded corner on it. I'm going to go ahead and follow that also. And then it's going to come around this rounded corner down here on this end, and then I'll follow that edge. All the way up that side. Until I get to the top. And then I'll start across the top edge. Again, this is not super precise, but following that, I know that self-healing cutting mat is precise as far as its measurement, so I'm just going to follow that edge and just outline that. So there's my outline. Now I should be able to take some shears and cut that. I don't think I'll need to cut it with a knife. I think this is thin enough material that I should be able to cut it with a knife. So or with a pair of scissors. So let's see how this goes here. Oh yeah, it's cutting real nice. So I'm down here to the rounded corner. I'll flip this around. Go around the corner. And continue to follow that line. And it does help with these shears if you hold both sides behind the shears as you're cutting. So I'm at another corner. I'll go around that corner and then continue on that line. So it may be just a hair bigger than 8 by 12, but that won't hurt anything. Just make sure it didn't get any smaller. And then turn that corner and go ahead and cut down the next straight line. And these will be stitched or sewn over, so it's not going to be any raw edges. You're not going to see that. So let's go ahead and go around the last corner, and there's our piece. There's our scrap. We'll get rid of it. Hang my scissors back up, and there's my 12 by 16 inch piece. Now, before I fold this over and do any sewing or stitching to this bag, I'm going to go ahead and put my drawstring in, which I'm using a piece of lace, and I am going to lay that in there and put just a little bit of, this is Weldwood contact cement, and I've used contact cement from the Dollar Tree and this. It all seems to work just fine. So all I'm going to do is put just a little bit on the edge, and I do mean just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch wide, about like that. So I'm not putting a lot on there. And I don't need a lot. I just need enough to fold that over and capture that piece of lace as my drawstring while I'm doing my sewing. And you could do this however you want. I'm going to sew it with a machine. It'll be quick. It'll still be strong enough for what I'm using it for. And I want to get this all the way down to the edge here, to the corner. Then what I want to do is I want to leave enough room down here. I need to leave enough room to lay my lace in and fold it over. So I'm going to fold this over to the finished side and then do my sewing to sew that hem in there. So I need something to kind of use as a guide to give me how much room I want for this lace here. I've got, let's see, I don't want anything too wide. looks like the Sharpie would work out just about right. So I'll use that Sharpie, and I'm going to do the same thing. All I'm going to do is lay that up close to the edge where I put my contact cement, and I'm going to come back and do the same thing right on the other side of that Sharpie. And then what I can do is I can keep moving that. And you can do this freehand, however you feel comfortable doing it. And once I've got that, I can move it down another length of the Sharpie. And what I'm doing is, I'll show you in just a second when I get done, I'm making a void for that lace to fit in there as my drawstring. I'll move it one last time. And continue all the way down to the end. Alright, so there is my void. You can see I have two strips of that contact cement. One on the edge, and then one down far enough, which was approximately the thickness of the Sharpie, so that I can get my lace in there. So what I'm going to do, this lace is not perfectly straight, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on one end and fold that over and work my way down. Now remember, I've got to get stitching or a stitch from my machine all the way down that edge. So I'm working that lace into that void and folding that over, folding that pigskin over to touch the other line of contact cement. And then of course want to make sure as we're doing that we're not getting any wrinkles in our leather. So you just work your way down very slowly and carefully. And it looked like, I thought the Sharpie may be a little much, but I could have went even thicker. All right, so I'm down to the end here. Fold that over, make sure I don't have any wrinkles in it. So that'll pull through. Make sure that I didn't get that lace stuck in there somehow with glue. So I tested it. It pulled through okay. So now I'm going to have to set up my machine and go ahead and get my stitch in this hem. So that's my next step. So I'll be right back. Alright, so change the camera angle here a little bit so we can see what's going on. I'm going to turn this around this way, put my leather lace facing to the left or out so I can get this presser foot in there. I want to make sure I don't get into my leather lace with my stitching. So I'm going to give it about 4 or 5 stitches, go back, and I'm going to make sure that it is pulling it through. And I'm stitching right on the edge of that hem. So I'll go ahead and keep beating that through. Make sure I'm not on any of the lace. And I can test that as I go through and pull on that. And then you may need to stop, straighten it up. Now I'll come to the end, back it up. And what I'm doing is I'm locking that stitch in when I back that up like that. I can go ahead and cut that. Now let's see what we have. We've got a nice tight hem. It's got our lace inside. Let's double check. And our lace pulls through. It's good and tight, but it pulls through, so we didn't stitch into our lace. You want to make sure you don't do that or you won't be able to pull it. And if there was one thing I would have done different on this is I would have left a lot more room up here in this hem. But it does pull through. That's not a problem. So it is going to cinch closed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I trimmed off those threads on the ends, and I'm just going to burn them real quick. That'll help lock that in also. So there's about a 1/4 inch of thread hanging out. So there's my hem with my lace in there for my closure. Now, The next thing I need to do is I'm going to move this real quick, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the closure on the side and the bottom. So let me bump you out just a little bit here. Oops, wrong way. All right. So I want to stitch this backwards like this. Then I want to turn it inside out so that I have a finished seam around the outside. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, or I could do the exact same thing with putting the contact seam in on there. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this. I'm just going to put a small tack in a couple of places. Let's put it up here. About every 3 to 4 inches, I'm just going to put a little tack, about as wide as my brush. Instead of putting it all the way down, it'll be much faster. It should hold it. I don't know why it wouldn't. Down here at the end, at the corner, I'm going to do it on both the top and the bottom, so that whole corner will be cemented. Then what I'm going to do is fold this over, and let's see where these meet. And I'll do the same on the other side so that they meet up. That way, when I fold it over and get ready to put it together, they're going to meet up and hold. And that'll tack that while I sew it. So I've got little tacks all the way around, about every 3 inches. I don't know if I hold that up whether you'll be able to see it better. Yeah, you can see that in the light, those dark spots along the edge. So I'll let that sit for just a second, and I can go ahead and close up my contact cement, keep the air away from it. Alright, so now I can fold this over and match those spots up. Try to keep this as straight as possible so I don't bunch it up. And then I'll just press on that. Make sure I have good contact. And then that should keep that together while I sew all the way around there. Again, I want that as straight as possible. Keep the wrinkles out. go. So now I can go ahead and pop my machine back up there. And you could use sewing tape also, that two-sided sewing tape. That would work, I would think, just as well. And I do have some of that somewhere around here. All right, I'm going to start here at this side, and I'm going to just go by my presser foot on the outside edge as a guide. So I'll go ahead and start, do about 5 stitches, back it up, and then let off a reverse and go ahead and start sewing. I'm going, again, I'm using this edge as a guide along the inside of my presser foot. And don't be afraid to slow down or stop, rearrange, whatever you got to do. Then what I'll do is I'll roll that around till I have my needle in the leather, in the pigskin, turn it a 90-degree angle. I have this edge lined up with the presser foot, go down and continue my stitching. So I didn't stop or break my stitching at all. It's a continued stitch. Now I'm just going down the other side. Stop, realign. Now, when I get down here to this end where I have my drawstring or my lace, I'm going to slow down a little bit. Then I'm going to go back and then come forward again and lock that in. I can go ahead and cut that, and I'll burn those just like I did the other ones. You could tie them if you want. You could cut them long and tie them however you want to do it. It's a personal preference. I find that just burning them like that after you've back stitched and locked that in does a really good job. Come back down here, same way, cut where I started, and burn those. And by burning those, what it does, if you look at it real close, on most of these threads, at least the thread I'm using, what it does is it burns it down, and then as the flame goes out, it leaves a little hard ball at the end, and that keeps it from wanting to pull out. So let's get rid of this machine. We don't need it anymore. Let's reconfigure you, and I'll be right back. So I've got everything in here. Again, this is fairly snug. If I had to do anything over again, I would have gave myself a little more room here in this hem, but it works really good. Definitely strong enough to hold everything in there, nice and tight. As you can see, it's already loosening up. That lace opens up real nice and big so I can get in. Makes it super nice storage pouch. And it looks good. Another project done. Nice storage pouch for the razors, trimmers. And again, I made that out of pigskin leather, so it was easy to work with, lightweight. Appreciate you coming along and watching. As always, please, if you haven't, hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. And as I always say, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.